All right, it's been like a year since the last time I have filmed a video for YouTube, but I decided to make one today because I bought these used Genright fenders. These are the standard Genright fenders, non-cut ones, so these ones are, you don't cut your hood for them, standard height. And I just bought them because they were cheap on Facebook Marketplace, and I like the aluminum. And I kind of want to do a little facelift on the old Murder Hornet here, which, as you can tell, already has tube fenders on it, but it has these steel ones. And never been a big fan of this double kind of hump look. I want something that's more sleek, and those were inexpensive, so I planned on putting those on this. Now, I don't have any instructions for this, so I'm 100% winging this and hoping for the best. I'm going to film some of the process, or at least what I learned in the process. And the first thing I'm going to start with is taking this bag of hardware I got with him. Looks like it has instructions in it. I don't know, I haven't opened it yet. And assembling the inner and outer fenders. That was the other reason why I got them. These have the inner fenders, which have the cooling vents, and these also have cooling vents. The old tube fenders over there, they don't have any cooling vents. So, yeah. Let me go ahead and see if I can get these assembled. And if I run into a snag, I will point that out. Yeah, so I opened the bag, and this instruction kit is for the Highline fenders, which is not what these are. So these instructions are not going to be very useful, but it'll at least give me an idea of what hardware goes where. Just a quick update. Yeah. All right, these are together now. That bag of hardware I had worked out. The instructions weren't for the right fenders. I do have hardware left over. The main reason I have hardware left over is you could see that these have been modified for coilovers, so not all the bolts get used, which is fine. If I do coilovers, I can do coilovers later. But it has, the only hardware I didn't have was for this part here. I had to get some hardware for my garage. That's why these are Phillips heads instead of Allen heads. Those little ones that I had in the kit wouldn't work. These might be older than those. I don't know. I might have changed hardware at some point. But they were M4 10 mil. And I just have like random ass hardware kits in my garage, like this one. I have like a junk one here. I have a McMaster kit. And on my fucked up workbench, I have a Harbor Freight one. And that's what that came out of, was a Harbor Freight one. So yes, Harbor Freight screws on Genright fender. It's fine, it works. Now I got them together. It's pretty straightforward. Find a hole, put a bolt in the hole. Not to it, really. Pretty easy. Yeah. Now it's time to see about getting them on the Jeep. All right, I didn't film a lot, and I'm sorry for that, but here's the deal with these. So everything that's in here, your battery tray, your battery, all this stuff has to come off, right? Now, when you go and put these on, I made a mistake of putting the other inner fenders on first. You want to put those on last. You don't want to connect those together. You want to put those in place, like slide them behind the shock tower, then put the fender on, and then bolt them together. You'll never get these over the tower, shock tower, the way it is now. Now, these are used, so there's some mods done to these that you would not see with standard fenders when you buy them from Genright. And these ones are a little bit beat up. I don't have instructions, so I'm sure I did some of this stuff wrong. Again, all this stuff has to come off. I haven't bolted any of this stuff back on. I'm pretty sure these came off of like a newer Jeep, like an 03 and up, because there's no holes for my evap canister. Because in the 03 and up, the evap canister is behind the passenger rear wheel. It's not up in the engine compartment like this, so I'm gonna have to drill my own holes. I'm gonna also have to figure out what to do with this washer fluid reservoir, because it's too big. Like, it won't let the hood shut, and there's no room for it to bolt down. So I'm gonna have to figure that out. Same thing with the horn. I'm gonna have to drill some holes for the horn to bolt down. And then also the little, you know, little cushion clamps and whatnot, and all that kind of stuff. So I'm not done by any means. I have my little ARB compressor down in here, bolted to the inner fender like that. Nothing's super tight, nothing's tightened down. That's the other thing. It's like a IKEA furniture, right? You don't want to tighten everything up. You kind of want to loose fit everything before you tighten it all up. I haven't put the signal lights in, all that kind of stuff, like just laying across the engine right now. I already have had tube fenders, so I already have somewhere in this mess. Oh, right there. I already had the LEDs, so that'll be simple. One of the other things I noticed with this fender style, factory air box isn't gonna work. So the factory air intake's not gonna work. I'm gonna have to do a cold air intake. I tried to put the box on this, and it sits too high. The old inner fender stuck further out, and it had mounting holes. There's no mounting holes for the factory air box. I could probably modify that to work, but I kind of wanted a cold air intake anyways, so I don't see the point in trying to get that to function that way. So a cold air intake is more expensive, but it's a simpler fix. One of the other things I got to do is I have these little rock lights. I have these right here, so I got to do that still. So it's definitely not done, not at all. But this is my progress. Again, these inner fenders, you want to not have those bolted to the tube fender. You want to set them in place behind the, right here behind the shock tower. Then put your inner fender on, put a couple bolts in the back and in the front. Do your alignment, get the alignment on this body line squared away, get it nice and tight. Like you can see, this isn't tight. I'm not anywhere close to being done. This bolted on just fine. This fuse box. There's a fuse box underneath the battery tray that also bolted on okay. That's what that Phillips head right there is. It'll work. Yeah. Much cleaner look than what I had going on before. I like these a lot better. Still debating whether or not I'm going to clean them up and paint them black or what I'm going to do, but I didn't have this venting before. That's going to be nice when it comes time to put my hood louvers in. I should eliminate a lot of heat out of the engine bay. So yeah, I'll continue to make videos on this project till I'm done. I'll show you what I had to come up with the washer cooler. And this will probably be, I'll probably just drill this, put an Allen bolt and nut through it. Just got to position it well. Now this is going to be the challenging part because this thing's huge and I have no idea. I have no idea what to do here. I think it's just a pump. I'm sure a universal one would work. I don't think this has a sensor in it. But yeah, this is like nowhere close to fitting. So, and you'll see when I go to close my hood, it doesn't let the hood close. So, but just like this side, you can see it's crooked. A much better body line, much smoother bend. Yeah. I'll continue to film, show you how I solve my problems. All right, I'm back on this again. I noticed that I did something wrong, and that is this portion needs to be behind this fender. So I'm gonna have to redo this part. Luckily I didn't. I'm still like working on this. So I'm just gonna have to go through, and not all of this is tight. I'm gonna have to go through and try to realign this. Working in the street, so you're gonna hear some cars. But I need to break out all my tools and get back at it. Yeah. If you don't have this behind here, the tire's gonna catch this and rip your inner fender out. So I gotta get that fixed. Okay. Well, I'm not gonna lie. I gave up on the whole idea of trying to put that behind a tube fender. That wasn't gonna fit. This section right here was gonna have to get trimmed out a lot to get behind that fender. These were already installed on a Jeep. So whoever did it probably didn't tuck these behind the tube fender either. So I'm just gonna go through. I have to buy some hardware. This hardware, I don't have this hardware to anchor it down to the tub. So I'm gonna buy that hardware, and I'm just gonna do a really good job anchoring it down and say screw it. Whatever. This has turned into a job for sure. Buying used stuff, you have to be prepared for that. Buying used stuff on Facebook Marketplace turns into a job. It's just the way it is. Things happen, right? Like I broke the hard line on my brake. Like it's kind of hard to see it, but down there, right in that little section right there, that hard line going that way. Yeah, focus camera. Yeah, that's my finger, but whatever. Right there by the motor mount, I broke that hard line. So I bought a whole box of all new hard line to fix that. The other thing that I found with these fenders is that the factory air box, air intake won't fit. Yes, my Jeep's dirty. I beat the shit out of this, and I'm horrible at maintenance. But yes, the factory air box doesn't fit. So I have to put a cold air intake on it. Oh, what a bummer. So, old air box out. The inner fenders are just too tall. You can't get the factory air box underneath the, whatchamacallit, the strut bar for the radiator support. So, I bought this carb legal KN product. So I'm going to put this on today. It should be pretty straightforward. I'll open this up here in a second so I can show you what's in it. But that's the next task here, is to do this, and I should be 100% finished with this driver's side fender. Everything else bolted up fine. Fuse box, I need to tighten it up, but it's on here. I had to modify this one mounting screw that didn't work like it did from the factory. I just had to find some hardware, make sure you have random hardware. These are some rock lights that I had in the old two fenders. I still need to mount those. I have the old signal lights that go here. I just need to install them. But right now I'm moving on to the cold air intake. Once I get that in place, because it's got to mount here somehow. So I want to figure that out, because that's the next. This is my winch cables. This has got to get all zip tied out of the way. This is a refrigerant line. That's the other thing that changes. You can see the factory mounts for refrigerant lines don't work anymore, so I'm gonna have to buy some cushion clamps for that. I'm gonna have to redo this mess. I don't know what the previous owner was doing with the signal lights, so I'm gonna have to clean this up somehow, make this look nice. It looks like ass. So leave it better than you found it. So yeah, so that's my next task. So let me work on unboxing this and figuring this out. Then that way I can get this on, and then I can move on to the fender on the passenger side. All right, so sorry about that little twisty shit. Problem here, same problem with other airbox, is that the airbox sits too high. It has to sit underneath this bar, right? As you can see, this is supposed to go under this somehow, right? And it doesn't. It sits too high. These fenders sit too high. The factory fenders kind of do this like a little hump down deal. These go flat out. So even with the KN, it sits too high. So it sits like a couple inches too high. So what to do? Here's what I'm going to try to do. I'm going to cut across here. That's what I'm going to try to do. I'm going to cut this 90-degree thing off, and then see if I can drop down this bracket. This is just a heat shield. Probably not what makes it carb. I don't know. So I'm going to try that first. Use a body saw and a piece of tape, cut along this line to where it's just the shield. See if I can get it to go under this. I'll probably cut. You see, it comes close. Comes really close. In fact, there's a little L bracket that mounts it to the front radiator support. So I'm thinking if I cut that off, it'll probably fit. And now my air compressor's running, building up pressure. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do that. And we're going to see how well it works. All right, well, that's done. And it sucked, but it's done. Yeah, so I had to trim that entire lower bracket off, right? Just to get it to fit in there. And as you can see, it fits now. I will have to come up with some kind of, there's previous owner of these flares had coilover towers. So I'm going to catch a lot of dirt in that area. So I'm going to have to make some kind of dirt deflector at some point. Not a big deal. But yeah, it's installed. It sucked. Expect to massage some of these aftermarket parts. If you go to buy one of these KN intakes, you have the money to buy the aluminum versus this ABS plastic, do that. These rubber boots don't like to slide onto this ABS plastic. I had to kind of shave some of the plastic molding a bit to get these ABS boots to slide on. It was really difficult. As you can see, this inner fender, real tight clearance on this. I mean, this is all like rubber mounted. It's not like rigid in any way because the engine moves, so all this has to be flexible, but it's on there. Big difference between this and the California one and the rest of them is you have to have this sticker under your hood, so it has to be visible. I put it next to the catalyst sticker. That's the carb sticker. Lets the California inspector know, hey, this is legit. You can pass smog. That's the visual part. So I oiled it. Doesn't look like it, but I did. But this is done, other than putting the battery in and then the signal light. But I'm not going to film any of that. That's boring shit. I still have to deal with finding a new bottle for this. This is way too big now. So I'm gonna have to do some research on that, measure it up, find something maybe from the jungle site that might fit. And I still have to drill and mount the horn stuff, and drill and mount my charcoal canister. Finish mounting my ARB compressor down there. It's already drilled and everything. I just got to mount it. I'm gonna have to look for the actual fender bolts for the tub. I don't have those because the previous owner took those out. So I'm not done with this project yet. I have way more to do, so I'll film some more. But this is just kind of a stop to the irritation because I'm hot, I'm tired, I'm fat. I was gonna do the sliding this into the behind the tube fender, but I just can't get it to fit back there. Yeah, I'd have to take this all the way apart and trim the inner fender, and this doesn't fit the way it is. And I can't get none of my personalities to agree with the idea of taking all this way apart again and redoing all of it. So we've all decided to say fuck all that and not do that. So yeah, fuck that. We're just gonna anchor it really fucking good, so that way it doesn't get ripped off. I've done some YouTube research and found that you have to like trim here. So whoever had these on another Jeep before probably didn't do it either. So I'm good. And I still gotta do some paint. I'm not gonna leave them aluminum like this. I'm probably gonna leave this part aluminum, paint right here, paint like this top part, leave this aluminum, leave underneath aluminum, right? I got new wheels for this, which you guys will see in another video. Yeah, probably the flat pieces will be black to match the rest of the Murder Hornet theme. But now some of you might say, well, why don't you go and just cut down the factory box air cleaner? But I don't like dealing with trying to trim up plastic. I'm much better with the metal. So this is aluminum, this back heat thing, and you know, horsepower. Because, you know, horsepower. This Mighty Straight 6 needs more horsepower. Yeah. Anyways, I'm done for the day because I'm lazy. I'm done for the day. Yeah. I'll get back to it later. All right, so this is gonna be the last video I make on my used Genright Fender install. Not much to update. It's fairly complete. I have some fine finish work to do, but other than that, everything's done. I installed my rock lights. That's right there on either side. Just mounted them through, drilled it, fuse box, air intake. This has been fastened. Yep, horn mounted. Used some of my own hardware, some of the hardware that came in my kit. Mounted my charcoal canister, the other rock light on this side. I have like little things to do, you know, mounting the hardware here. But other than that, it's pretty much done. The only thing I wanted to show you is this part. So the washer fluid bottle I talked about in the last time I was talking about these fenders when I was dealing with it. This is an Amazon washer bottle. They have a bunch of different Chinese versions of these on Amazon Universal. They're like meant for ATV, side-by-sides, whatever. Little 12-volt pump. There's no sensor in the factory one for the TJ. There's no warning light in them. This thing was like, I don't know, $20, something like that. And then I just used a piece of aluminum flat stock that I got from Home Depot, bent it, drilled in, used their mounting hard plastic mounting flange that comes with the washer bottle, drilled it. Then I had like another L bracket in my garage because I'm a pack rat, like I've said before, that I kind of reinforced it with. Pretty sturdy. The big key is to make sure this is like a 1.5 liter. So you're gonna lose capacity, but this is a 1.5 liter washer fluid bottle. It's just two wires. That's what the factory one is. I haven't wired it yet, but it's only 2 wires. It's 12 volts. But 1.5 liter. The key is, what I found is it has to be shorter than 7 inches on its height to get it to clear the hood. So yeah, so that's the ticket. If you want to have washer fluid for your windshield, this is what I found works best. Now there may be a way to sneak in the factory one, but this seemed to fit. Other than that, everything else, I just need to, you know, clean up my wiring. Like I still have some fine tuning, like I said, like I have my wires to deal with when it comes to my rock lights. Still need a zip tie up, you know, that kind of stuff still needs to be cleaned up. But yeah, other than that, it's just you know, some tidying up. Other than that, everything's done. Everything's tight, everything's hard, you know, good. I need to do a slight adjustment on these because they don't latch perfect every time, but no, but other than that, it's done. $500 on Facebook Marketplace. Looks a little bit better with the aluminum wheels. The wife thinks that I shouldn't paint these, so I'll probably buy some rear tube fenders just to put some aluminum in the back to kind of balance the look of it, but I don't know. Still on the fence, but still, this is done. Yeah, pretty straightforward. I did replace my hard line that I broke. I will make a video on how I bleed. This was kind of a pain in the butt, but I still have to bleed that and kind of like find a way to anchor this, but it's kind of in a bad spot. My next video is going to be hydro assist. I'm going to put a hydro assist steering from Redneck Ram, or West Coast Steering. It's the company, actually. Their kit's called a Redneck Ram. Yeah, okay. That's it. That's my new Genright fender install.